Hey, Blue Table fans! Oh, the last 12 months have been good to Sean because all my favorite armies have come out. High Elves, Eldar, and Wood Elves. Elves. Space Elves, regular Elves. Now, I love Wood Elves. Wood Elves are by far and away my absolute most favorite army. And I grew up in Southern Oregon. So backwoods Oregon is familiar to me, and so all this is good memories. So let's continue. First off, the Wood Elves book. If you look at the copyright on it, the previous one rather, it's 2005. So we're coming up on, I do believe, 10 years for this book, and the Wood Elves really languished, especially with the advent of 8th edition. Because their old tactics, which was kind of, I mean, it was hard enough to win with them as it was, and but their tactics really blew up in 8th edition, and that is, for example, march blocking was a big deal, and now you can make a leadership test and still march, and especially if you have a BSB, which most armies do, that really becomes a non-issue. And take a look at this Tree Man. This is the last edition of Tree Man. And just keep that in your mind when you're looking at the new one, because, oh my gosh, I'm going to say yes to the new Tree Man. All right, to continue. Also, there's a thing now where where you can reform to face your opponent. So you can't just hit him in the flank and kind of be wailing on those one or two guys forever and ever. And so, with the core units that they had, it was, there just wasn't anything in there that you could really break things up with, except maybe, Eternal Guard. But even then, it just wasn't comparable to other armies' stuff. So anyway, enough about this old thing. Whoosh, gone. All right. So I'm going to give you some first impressions of the new Wood Elves. And then we're going to retire to the whatever it is room, the conference room, and talk about actually making an army. So again, this is first impressions. I don't know exactly how everything's going to turn out. Of course, they've published some really cool new stuff. One is this dual-use kit, Wild Riders / Sisters of the Thorn. Cool name, does a cool thing, cool model, trifecta for these guys. Absolutely awesome. Also, there's new infantry. I'm still kind of sorting out which kits are which. I'm going to do a separate video where I get on the GW site and actually show you the different models and I guess learn them myself. So Wildwood Rangers is one of them, and they have heavy weapons. Okay, here comes Spencer. Spencer knows it all. Go ahead, Spencer.
So the Wildwood Rangers are a dual kit with the Eternal Guard.
Okay, thank you.
And then like you said, the Sisters of the Thorn and the Wild Riders are a dual
right.
kit.
Okay, so that's 2 kits.
And then the new Tree Man kit can build Tree Man Ancient, or Durthu, right. Whatever his name is.
Awesome.
And that's about it, except for they got one more character.
So wait a minute, there's no new infantry with bows?
Nope, they're still using the good old Glade Guard kit.
Yeah, which, by the way, is really a solid kit.
The one thing I think they really needed to update as far as new models is the... what are they called? The
Treekin.
There's enough variant models out there that doesn't bother me.
Oh wait, so what other companies are putting out Treekin compatible things? Do you know offhand?
Cyborg's Tree Man is awesome.
Oh, okay, great. We'll take a look at that.
I like the new one over the old GW one.
Right.
But the Cyborg one actually just looks like a big tree that came to life instead of a dude wearing branches.
Right.
So I like that one more personally.
Yeah, I'll be discussing the aesthetics of that. Go ahead.
It's one of the rare units. What is it? Way Watchers. That's it. They still only come in the metal pack of 3.
What?
But you have to run them in a unit of 5+.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So they're cool looking models, but they could have used maybe a
they're great models. Well, see, what I don't understand is this guy has like a spear, a double-handed spear.
Yeah, Wild Riders or Glade Riders can have a spear and a bow.
Yeah, but I don't think that comes in the kit. Does it? It always came with that? Well, that's weird. How can I not know that?
And the rumor is that they'll be getting a new Hawk Rider kit,
Okay.
like an actual plastic one,
Nice.
and a new dragon.
Okay.
Because Lord knows they need it.
Yeah, that's true. It's just a terrible. So I'll talk about conversions for that. Okay, thanks a lot, Spencer. Was there anything else?
Nope, just wanted to.
Okay, great.
So you didn't
Spencer can't help but come over. And you know what? I appreciate it, Spencer. It's really nice. And you know, that's one thing I love about Blue Table Painting as a company is I'm surrounded by good people. And I got to tell you, yeah, nerds that everything has to be technically correct. It's pretty funny in my house this morning we had because I have two sons. I have a 9-year-old son and a 12-year-old son. And the 12-year-old son, everything's got to be technically correct. He's a bit of a nerdy rules lawyer type. And then the other son is more creative. So anyway, and they're both great. So, all right, let's continue. So let's talk about initial impressions. So I read Orion. I can't tell the difference. I usually don't put much stock in like named characters. One thing I noticed is that the Tree Man Ancient can be a level 4 wizard, which is amazing. And he auto has Lore of Life, which is very strong. And so when you're looking at a level 4 wizard for your army, which is pretty much a must, that is one thing you might consider. My old Wood Elf build was a Spell Weaver and a Tree Man Ancient, and so what's interesting is the old Tree Man Ancient wasn't a wizard at all. It could just have spites. And spites are gone, by the way, which is too bad, but you know that was to be expected. So you can really combine both into this thing, and his value actually, or his points cost actually dropped 35 points. And but the one big change, oh great, we're talking about changes now, is that Forest Spirit used to give you a 5-up invulnerable, but you could take it away with magic. And now they just have a 6+ ward save, but they're also immune to psychology. I wonder if that was the case before too. Great, we're looking at the old book now. Just what you wanted. Let's see, Forest Stalkers. Where's Forest Spirit in here? Come on now. All right, Forest Spirits. Have 5+ ward save, Tree Man Ancients, magical. Oh, and yeah, they were immune to psychology before. So to continue, so the Tree Man Ancient can actually fill both roles, and that's why I really am liking the Ancient. And they can take Strangle Roots for 20 points, and I don't want to mislead you, but I do believe it's a shooting attack. I read through all this, and you know, of course, it doesn't stick the first 5 times. Strength 5, multiple shots, D6 +1, but they also have ballistic skill 6. So yeah, and the Ancient, wait a minute, he only has ballistic skill 4. Hold on, does the Tree Man have 6 and the Ancient only have 4? That's going to be unusual. Yeah, Tree Man is a ballistic skill 6. Tree Man Ancient is weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4. That's, yeah, I guess they could be geriatric. Thank you. So, okay. So there's that. So, Spellweaver, now, here's another unusual thing, is the Wood Elves now have high magic, dark magic, or the any one of the 8 lores. So that's like a huge amount of flexibility. And I love it when models have, like, you don't have to change the model to get a change of effect. So, and you know what? Let's just skip right to it. Let's go to core. So I didn't really read up on the unit-specific heroes like Shadow Dancer, which is for War Dancers, Way Stalker, which is for presumably Way Watchers, but could also be something else. Ballistic skill 7 for that guy. Blam. Sniper. Oh wow, yeah, that's great. Well, and these guys are pretty cheap. 100 points, 90 points, 75 points for a Branch Wraith. I have a feeling you're going to see these kind of just mixed in. And the beauty is when you're actually making your army, like physically, you can have a thing where you actually make just kind of a little conversion, and then you can you can use that as a hero, or you can use it as unit champion, or you can just make it like, well, it's just a regular guy but special. So you want to get multiple use out of your stuff. So core units, Glade Guard. So one huge improvement is that Glade Guard now have an Asrai longbow, and let's just take a look and see what the strengths are of that. It's range. Thank you, thanks, Spencer. Okay, 30-inch range instead of 24, and the strength 3 armor piercing. Now, if I remember right, it used to be that they did not suffer -1 to hit penalty for moving and shooting. Yep, there it is. And I'm not sure if that's still the case. That's something I was really looking for. Forest Stalker is if they are more than half of the models are in a forest, they can fire in 1 more rank, they can attack in 1 more rank, and reroll all wound rolls of 1. So this is something I can't talk about now. Maybe someone can write a little blurb about this, which is when you're setting up with your wood elves, how many forests are going to be on the table? Well, you get the one from the wood elves, and it does specify use a citadel wood. I of course would make my own thing and just have it have the same footprint, and so which is great because it doesn't make it 6 inches diameter. There's really no sort of ambiguity about it. It's like use this specific thing, and that's great because now go out and buy that, right? So let's see, which is okay. Great, let's do that. If you cannot fit the force in your half, so according to regular deployment, I'd imagine you could at least get. Hold on, I hear Spencer coming over. Okay, Spencer, I've
already read the book.
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
So you get the force from the ambush or whatever it is,
right?
And then you take. There's a magic item wherever they are in here. I just have the rules, so I don't know where everything is.
There we go.
Acorns of the Ages lets you put down another D3 Citadel Woods.
Oh, are you kidding me?
So you could potentially start the game putting down 4 forests.
Right, and on top of that, if you insist on regular terrain deployment, you're going to get probably another 1 or 2 forests.
Yeah, so you can load
the
table up in your favor.
Amazing.
This is also 100 points.
Yeah, but it's it's synergy.
100-point game.
Yeah,
that works fine.
Throw that down.
I think if you're playing anything less than 2,000 points, it's just way too much for the chance.
But it's a force multiplier, which is these things are pretty awesome. Yeah, actually, all models have the Force Stalker rule, which I think almost everything in the army does, if not everything.
Force Stalker or Forest Spirit.
Right, and Forest Spirit does have Forest Stalker? No, it doesn't. Nope.
No, it gets them the 6+ or 6+ ward, and I think it makes their attacks magic.
And it gives them +1 attempts to cast spells, so it's a huge force multiplier.
Yeah. But again, it's expensive. So it's one of those things where it's like.
But an average of 2 forests to make your guys get these abilities.
Yeah.
That's all. I know I'm doing it.
With the new magic arrows you can give guys, you don't even need that half the time. Because you can just sit there and you can take Hagbane arrows and just poison shots all day.
Yeah, and in fact that's what I predict is the best one. Well, you're going to see a lot of Hagbane tips.
The Hagbane and the Swift Shiver shards are good, and then the True Flight. The problem is I think the Swift Shiver are like 5 points a dude.
Yeah,
so in a big block of Glade Guard, it makes them very expensive. But it does make every model in that unit shoot twice.
Yeah, but at -1. So anyway, that's what multiple shots.
Oh, does it?
Has. Yeah, it has a -1. Okay.
Still ballistic skill like 4 or 5 though.
Yeah, the standard elf is 4. So by the way, it's Force Stalker is to wound rolls only in close combat. I thought at first glance I was like, whoa, if it's ranged too, then that's amazing.
With the Wildwood Rangers, because they have great weapons already.
Right.
And always strikes first.
Oh,
so
wow.
You sit them in a woods and wait for somebody to come at you.
Right.
Because otherwise, they're
Is this going to be the come at me, bro army? I think it will be.
I think with that unit in particular.
Right.
Because you park them in a wood, it's like, okay, anything with fear or terror that attacks them, they get an extra attack against it.
Right.
And then they're a great weapon, so they go up to like strength 5.
Right.
Their weapon skill like 5. Always strikes first. You sit them in the woods like, oh, they cause extra wounds now. So your opponent's basically going to have to attempt to deal with them because they just try and skirt by. You then swing out of the woods into their flanks.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Okay.
They're a pricey unit, but they're used right. They're going to be brutal.
What I recommend if you're commissioning an army through Blue Table Painting, which you should,
get 12 of everything.
Is 12 of everything. No, instead of Citadel Woods, because the Citadel Woods are like a little mountain. Like they bow up irregularly in the middle. Have us make you some proper flats out of beveled hardboard and put some cool trees on there.
Maybe go to Titan.
That's what I gotta say.
Get some made.
Yeah, Titan terrain. Yep. Okay. So, all right, let's move on. So, dryads are really cool. You're welcome to be here, Spencer. You want to pull up a chair? Pull up a chair. Okay. So, yeah, the squeaky chair. All right, so dryads have hatred, which is pretty cool. They kind of like, they're a bit reminiscent of a chaos warrior, but they have faster move, lower weapon skill. Strength is only 3, so that's not as awesome, but they do have 2 attacks. Initiative 5 is nice, and 11 points a model, and they now rank up, and that is an absolutely enormous change. I don't think they had fear before, excuse me, they still have fear. They didn't have hatred before, now they do. Yeah. So that is a big deal. Now hatred is reroll misses on the first turn of combat? Or is it reroll ones? So? It's ones in 40k. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, Glade Riders. Okay, here, one word can completely change a model's entry. I find the point cost on Glade Riders. Okay, so you've got
24 points a model in the day.
Yeah, and now they're 19 points. So that's a pretty big difference. They also got ambushers, which allows them to come on oddball table edges, but you have to have a unit on and a unit off. So I'm not sure, you're definitely not going to see Glade Riders in big old blocks of 20. I think you'll see them in units of 5.
I think even in units of 10 they can do pretty well because they have the longbow, so they can take magic arrows.
Yeah, and they do have the whole suite of magic arrows, which we're not going to talk about on this one.
They also have the
we're coming up on 20 minutes. I'm going to start. Okay, so let's just rip through this. Eternal Guard, 11 points a model. They're in core now, but they have elite type stats. They have weapon skill 5, initiative 5. They've got Stubborn, Forest Stalker, always strikes first, and Osrai Spear.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that.
The Osrai Spear is strength of user, armor piercing, fight and extra rank.
So that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And every special weapon in the new book is armor piercing.
Right.
That's their thing. So going against like Warriors of Chaos, you can start dropping those saves of theirs down.
There's
quick.
even arrows that make the armor save -3.
Yeah, those ones are pretty brutal.
Yikes.
So yeah, the Eternal Guard in the old book were 12 points a model, pretty much the exact same stat line. But in order to take them as a core unit, you had to have a lord,
right?
Or you had to have like a noble or whatever. They're highborn. If an army is led by a highborn, they could become a core unit.
Yeah, now they just are.
So I like that because it means they have a dedicated core close combat unit.
Right.
And you don't have to take something else to get them to be that.
Yeah.
Because highborns weren't cheap. I mean, highborns were 145 points base.
Yep. So you don't got to do that. Okay, let's move on to special. So Wildwood Rangers are the heavy weapon guys.
Yep.
And yeah, great weapon, light armor. What's Guardians of the Wild? Oh, that's +1 attack.
+1 attack against anything that causes fear or terror. So against like ogres, they're going to be brutal.
Whoa, yeah, that's for sure. So they'll be strength 5, weapon skill 5, always strikes first.
With 2 attacks.
Right.
3 with
So
a
now with a great weapon, you're always strikes first. You just don't have rerolls for higher initiative. Isn't that how that works? I think that's how that works.
I'm not super familiar with
All right.
all the
One of the
intricacies
fans can
it.
correct me. They can take a minor magic standard, which is nice. Let's move on. War Dancers, now 15 points each, have the shadow dances, so more or less what you're familiar with. Quite frankly, I do think you're going to see War Dancers again in small units, and here's why. Quite simply, if they hit the flank, and they can, it's very easy for them to move around, they can choose the War Dance that gives them a 3-up ward save, Shadow's Coil. And that means if only one guy is attacking back, chances are those guys are going to hold that unit up for a whole turn.
Yeah.
And maybe even force them through charge, bonus, and charge in the flank to lose the combat, basically. So.
And they're still skirmishers too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
minimum unit size is 5.
yeah.
So I think you are going to. I'm including
There's not a
War
max
Dancers.
unit size anymore, which is nice.
I'd be half tempted to convert these guys out of witches, Dark Eldar witches, and because it'd be
Witches
cheaper.
and, like Glade Guard bits, honestly.
Yep, that's right. Okay, Treekin still heavy hitters. Deepwood Scouts. Here's your elite archers,
Yep.
and they're skirmishers. The jury's out for these guys on me because
they're pretty well just the same. I think they're the same stat line as a Glade Guard.
yeah, they are just the standard stat line.
Their thing is they've got skirmish.
Yep.
So-
Now, what I love is the Glade Guard. Just the regular bowman can take these specialty arrows.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, who wrote this book. I bet it's
Probably
Matt
just says
Ward.
Games Workshop staff, probably.
Yeah, it doesn't say a name to it.
Produced by the Games Workshop Design Studio.
Oh, wow.
They've been doing that a lot more.
They
because
got
people
rid
have
of
been
the
getting
thing.
They've been getting
Yeah.
a lot of backlash towards certain writers, so they started doing that.
Well, they lashed back at the good ones because they were awesome and people were jealous.
But yeah, so the scouts are pretty awesome because they can take the magic arrows too. So
Yeah, but why would I take these instead of just my regular core unit guys for 12
because
points?
the scouts have skirmish, so they don't have to.
They
do the
move
block, so
around.
they're a little more mobile.
Well, and that's an interesting question with Wood Elves is could you have this hard-hitting, fast-moving army? And the
totally.
answer, I do believe, is yes. There's some kind of teleportation thing in the magic
I've
items.
written up a couple of lists already.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to play Wood Elves?
Possibly.
Spencer, I wouldn't have thought.
I've always liked the Wood Elves. My problem was this book is
Yeah.
so out of date and
Yeah.
just not fun.
Oh, it was horrible.
So I've been thinking about it. But you can do... The thing I like about the new book is you can conceivably do an entirely mounted army.
Yeah. Well, that was always the case.
Right, but now you have a little more variety.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
very true.
I wrote up a list. You can't take any rare units though, but it's funny to just be like, I have 2,000 points and everything moves at like speed 9.
And his fast cavalry.
Yeah, everything's fast cav, it's on a hawk.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's interesting because let's say you were able to completely avoid any casualties. Like, because now you need to eliminate a unit entirely in order to get points for it.
Right.
So, and that was the old Wood Elves thing, was that you would dance around. So that's really a good question is could you like just win the game by picking off skirmishers and war machines and all that and just have all those points, have like 800 points of that in your column and your opponent literally not be able to touch you.
Right.
And that's a toughie. Like, so something tells me Wood Elves are still not suited for that head-on confrontation.
I think they are a little bit more now.
Oh, more for sure.
With being able to take Eternal Guard and Core and the Wildwood Rangers. I think those gave them some very efficient close combat.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wild Riders are still brutal in melee too, especially now that they're riding the Stags. Because the Stags get like 3 strength 5 impact hits.
Well,
or something crazy.
let's talk about those 2 unit entries, and we're coming up on a half hour, which is pretty huge. So we'll have to do a part 2 for rare, I think, and other comments. So Wild Riders and Sisters of the Thorn are made from the same kit.
Yep.
They're 26 points a model,
Yep.
and so the Wild Riders. They're on a steed of Kornos, steed of Isha. Yeah, that's right. They ride the stags.
Yeah.
And they're fast cavalry steer, Fear, Forest Stalker, Frenzy. Did they have Frenzy before?
Wow.
Talismanic Tattoos, which is a 6-up ward.
Their old special rules were Wild Hunt, Fury of Koronos, Fast Cav, Fort Spirit, and Talismanic Tattoos. So they didn't have Frenzy. Or Fear.
Right, well, I have a feeling that Frenzy was.
Yeah, it might have
Frenzy
been
and
part of
Fear
one of
is the
those.
same as the other thing.
Yeah.
So the Stags have 1 attack at Strength 4, which is nice. And they have Devastating Charge.
Yep.
What is that? +1 strength on the charge? We don't know.
Don't
Somebody will say.
But they have the spears, so they're mounted. They get +1 strength on the charge with the spear, and the spear's armor piercing.
Right.
So getting a unit of Wild
And they're
Riders-
Strength 4.
Yeah.
So they'd be Strength 5, armor piercing.
Yeah.
That's
Plus the impact hits
Awesome.
from the stags.
wow. At 26 points each. Yes, this is actually a cavalry unit that could break stuff.
Wild Riders
that could break
are
it up.
pretty awesome now.
I'm going to say yes to these guys. And the models are ridiculously
Yeah.
cool.
I
mean, seriously,
I'm not
look
sure
at those
I like
guys.
that they painted their skin green, but I do like the new design. I love those helmets
Yeah.
and the stags.
Those are cool. Wow. Okay. So pretty much. All right. And then the Sisters of the Thorn, they get some spell casting ability.
They get 2 spells.
And go ahead.
So they get, I don't remember what spells they are, but let me double check real quick.
Oh, I actually know this.
Do you?
Yeah. You go, and I'm
So-
going to.
The Sisters of the Thorn, they're level 2 wizard unit. So they're very similar to the Darkfire mages or whatever they're called for Dark Elves.
The Doomfire Warlock.
Doomfire Warlocks, thank you. So they're a level 2 unit, and they have Shield of Thorns and Curse of Araner. So they have 2 different spells they can cast. They're from 2 different lores, which is pretty cool. The cool thing is, though, it doesn't prevent other wizards from knowing those spells. And on top of
That's
that,
a bonus.
for every rank
Okay, Shield of
extra you
Thorns.
have, yeah, so Shield of Thorns is a really good one if I remember. Remains in play, augment spell at range 24 inches. At the end of each magic phase, any enemy unit in base contact with the target suffers 2d6 strength 3 hits.
Each magic phase.
Yeah.
So that's.
It casts on a 9+, so they're only level 2, which is pretty... So their spells don't get off super easy, but if they can get them off, they're pretty mean.
Well, think about the odds. If you throw 2 dice at it, and you do get the
You get a
+1 if they're in a
bonus-
forest.
You get a bonus if they have ranks.
So if they're
So-
2 ranks and they're in a forest,
They're
they're
essentially
like
level
+4, which is nice. Meaning they'll cast it on 2d6, they'll cast it on a 5, which is
Yeah.
highly probable.
So you really have to kind of stack it in their favor. If you just take a unit of 5 of them, they're probably not going to get them off as much. But if you take a unit of 10, yeah, you can
Yeah,
start
that's
getting-
where I would
or
go
you
with that.
take a unit of 15 if you really want to go bananas.
And they get a 4+ ward save, which cannot be underestimated how valuable that is.
Yeah.
Like that is huge. It's like Phoenix Guard. Phoenix Guard are kind of a must take because they've got that 4-up ward save. They got heavy armor. It's not that big a deal. Most things will give you a -1 to armor save, or there's a good amount of things that do that.
Especially if you're playing against wood elves, armor piercing everywhere.
Right. So a unit of 30 or a ridiculous unit of 50 Phoenix Guard, you just cannot kill that unit.
That's
So-
also like 90% of your points.
All right. So let's each of us. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Spencer.
The other thing about Sisters of the Thorn is if they miscast, they don't roll on the miscast table. They just take D3 wounds to the unit. So if you're like me and you have really bad luck rolling dice, Sisters of the Horn can kill themselves pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But they're still...
Hold on. Your argument just was if you have bad luck, this unit doesn't work very well.
My argument is if you roll like Spencer rolls, which is generally
Spencer.
pretty poorly...
What kind of reality are you creating for yourself? Go ahead.
Then
say it out loud.
they can
I always roll. I always roll very well.
Trust me, I don't.
Just go ahead. No, just say it.
I
ahead, say
can't
it out
lie
loud.
to myself, Sean.
Oh, that's brutal, Spencer.
I've played games. I've seen my rolls.
All right.
But they're a good unit. You really have to stack things in their favor to make them maximum efficiency.
You know what? I'm sorry, Spencer. I'm going to say it. I always have amazing rolls in my games and have a fantastic time.
I didn't say I didn't have a fantastic time. I just said I don't roll well.
All right, let's keep going. Sorry, Spencer. Actually, I'm not sorry.
Yeah,
I'm glad I said that.
The Sisters of the Thorn. Not much else to them.
Okay, great.
And the rares haven't really changed.
Let's you and me are both right off the tops of our heads. Well, based on what we know, we're going to make our Wood Elf armies right now and tell people what to take in their Wood Elf armies. Okay, here we go. Ready? I'm going to do mine. Okay, here's what I'm going to take.
Should I just grab the 1,500 points?
Yeah, why don't you? Why don't you? Okay, I'm going to take a Spell Weaver because the model's cool, and she can always be a level 2 to back up my level 4 Lore of Life. Tree Man Ancient. Bam, running up the flank. Deal with it. Okay, next. I'm just going to make some really cool unit champions here that can be upgraded to these hero types: Shadow Dancer, Waystalker, Branch Wraith. Okay, Glade Guard. I'm going to take 40 Glade Guard because those models can also be used for the scouts. So I'm going to have 4 units of 10, or let's make it 30, or 2 units of 15, or 3 units of 10. Dryads, I'm going to skip the Dryads for now, because even though they have really cool models, you really only want that one insane unit at the center of everything. And I am going to take 2 units of Glade Riders, 2 5-man units, 1 ambushers, 1 just to be a troublemaker, troubleshooter, and that's going to be, I do believe, 95 points each. So not too bad for that. Eternal Guard or Wildwood Rangers, that's a hard call. I'm going to say, let's see, 200 plus 360. Yeah, I'm kind of hurting for my core, so I am going to take a giant block of Eternal Guard. That's gonna be my big old block to deal with stuff. That's a toughie. That's tough because I am loving the Wildwood Rangers these days. Okay, I'm going to take 1 unit of 5 War Dancers just because. I like Treekin, but I'm going to skip those guys for right now. These guys can double for the Deepwood Scouts can double with the Glade Guard models. Okay, now here's where it gets fun. I'm going to take. God, this is just such a toughie. I think, like, where do you want that big old beefy block? That's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And quite frankly, I'm going to make my Glade Guard. Yeah, I'm going to take 45 Glade Guard, let's say, 3 units of 15, and my 2 units of Glade Riders. That should put me up right around 620, especially with the arrows. Should put me above the 625 I need for my minimum core for a whatever it is, 2,500 point army. Okay, now I'm going to take my War Dancers, and then this is where it's going to get beefy. Going to get 10 Sisters of the Thorn for 260 plus command.
That's just
and
1 unit.
1 unit, that's right. And then Wild Riders, I'm going to get 15 Wild Riders in a unit, and they are going to go out and make a huge, huge, huge problem of themselves. For rare, going to grab me a Tree Man, possibly 2 Treemen, depending on if I have the points or not, and I think I do. And I'm going to get 2 Great Eagles.
Especially now that you can take Great Eagles in units. That's awesome.
Oh, unit size 1+.
Yeah.
Oh, good catch,
so
Spencer.
Much better.
Good catch.
And
that
also,
one little thing, look at that. Just by adding a plus, you changed the game
that's
there.
all they changed too.
Yep.
But helpful hint to anybody watching: if you want to run a unit of Great Eagles,
yeah,
get the plastic eagle box from The Hobbit.
Yes,
because
thank
it comes
you.
with 2 of them.
Done. And
it's like,
how much is it?
It's like $35 or something.
Dude, that's the way to go.
Yeah, and they're good size models too.
Okay,
So,
great. Okay, so that's my Wood Elf army. Let's recap. Okay, in fact, let's add up the points just real quick here. Okay, Spellweaver and Treeman Ancient, bringing my lords up to about 600. And I'm going to bring a Glade Guard, is going to put me at about 500. 600, 700, so I'm at 1,300 with my 10 Glade Riders and 45 Glade Guard. And then now my War Dancers, putting me at about 1,400. And then these two units, that's going to be about 300, so that's 1,700. My giant unit of Wild Riders is going to put me at about 2,100. So with a couple of tree men and some great eagles sprinkled in, I think I'm right around 2,500 for the army, possibly higher.
Tree men is 450 points.
Right.
So if you're right at about 2,100 after the Wild Riders, you wouldn't be able to put any eagles.
Yep. So, well, there you go. You want some flexibility. So my army comes out to about 2,700. Okay, Spencer,
So
take it away. What do you got?
I've got a little 1,500 point list I just threw together in Battle Scribe for giggles. So I've got...
That's what that sounded like. That's what we heard when he was making his army list.
How would you know? You were of Valhalla when I made it. I've got a Glade Captain.
Sensed it, Spencer.
With the Bow of Lauren, the Helm of the Hunt, Arcane Bodkins as his magic arrows, and I gave him the spear. I have a level 2 Spellsinger. That's all my heroes. Nothing super impressive. Because 1,500 points, I don't want to throw in lords and stuff like that. They just eat up too much. I've got a 30-man block of Eternal Guard, full command, shields, the whole shebang. No magic standards or anything because I didn't have the points. Then I have 2 blocks of 10 Glade Guard with a champion and Hagbane tips. And then my special, I have 2 5-man unit of Wild Riders with shields, full command. And then in rare, I have a tree man. So that's
1,500.
That's exactly 1,500 points. So
all right.
that was me just kind of going, I want to try and build just a little list to maybe start working on an army. I did throw together a 2,500 point all mounted list that was still 60 some odd models because Glade Riders are so cheap now.
Right.
Because it was like, oh, I can take 4 units of 10 and it barely eats into my points now.
Wow.
So, and then give them all the magic arrows, it kind of eats into your points. But then you use 4 units of 10 cavalry shooting poison arrows at people.
Whoa, dude, seriously.
They can get pretty brutal pretty quick.
I actually kind of like that. Well, and think about that, because I chose archers, but love that show, by the way. I chose archers, and they're like 11. You're in the danger zone.
There's so many other
Would you
quotes,
say
but
that we're in a zone of danger? Okay, so anyway, the Glade Guard are 12 points. So for plus 7 points, you get the steed.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, now that you're talking about it, that sounds pretty tasty.
You get the steed.
I'm bringing that word back. Okay, go ahead.
That the major advantage of that is they become infinitely more mobile because their speed goes up by 4. So now they're more mobile. Plus, they already have the spear. So if they do have to get into melee, if they charge, they get +1 strength on that charge now. Yeah. So
that could really make a difference.
I think
Wood Elves are, well, obviously they're back in the game.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed. I had been hearing rumors and following all of it online, and there were times where I was just like, oh, I don't think that's a thing. Them suck. Yeah, come on, GW, if you really want my money, make Wood Elves worth taking again.
That's awesome.
And then the book came out, and I looked it over. I was like, I think I could get into this.
Dude, you have a huge unit of Eternal Guard.
Yeah,
on your
30
thing.
of them.
Okay.
I wanted to focus on having a big melee chunk supported by archers.
Okay.
I try and build my list.
I'm just trying to figure out what your list has that I don't. And I think you can make your list pretty much out of my list.
Yeah. My thing is when
Except the Eternal Guard.
I'm weird when I play Warhammer because I build lists like I'm a huge history nerd, so I'm always like, oh, well, you want the melee guys, and then you want the support with archers, and then you want the support with cavalry. So I build it completely opposite of how most people build their list, because like, oh yeah, you should just have a big block of like 50 Glade Guard. I'm like, no, you need 2 small units off to the side. They just sort of crossfire things. Like, that's how you do it. And people are like, no, that's how the real world does it. That's not how the fancy magical elves that live in the woods do it. But so yeah, I build lists kind of weird, but the all mounted list was just, it was too funny. I wish I had saved it. I think I might have it on my desktop at home.
Okay.
But it was,
I think
one of those lists where if I really get into it and I'm like, I'm just going to throw a lot of money at one army. 2,500 points
guys,
of all mounted
let's
stuff.
Let's do it. So let's talk about, by the way, thank you, Spencer. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about commissioning an army. And so what you do is if you check the liner notes for this video, you'll find an email address. Currently, that's projects@bluetablepainting.com. We have an inquiry specialist full-time, Steve. We love Steve. He is so dedicated, and you can even call him. So, and then he helps you set up your army. You can pay your army in up to fourths over, it can be several months if you want. And we actually have a lot of clients that do that. If you break it up into 4, and you break it up into 4 paychecks, then you actually can, now you're looking at a blank table. Here you go. The blank table speaks. It's okay. Oh, no, that's brilliant, Spencer. Look at the candy. Yeah. Look at the candy. Look at it.
Buy them.
So, and you definitely need blue table painting magnetized flush movement trays, which are a must for any Warhammer Fantasy army or any army. It's not an official GW product, obviously, and works for a lot of different systems. And
pretty much anything that uses square bases and blocks of units.
Yeah, anything that moves around.
The War Gods series.
Thank you.
Plugging that one.
War Gods of Egyptus.
And Olympus is coming out too.
Okay.
Back
all right.
on Kickstarter.
So you set up your army. We can order your models, or you can send them in. We can assemble your models, or you can send them in assembled. If you do send your models assembled, make sure that they are ready to receive primer. And but we're also glad to take care of mold lines and other stuff like that. Okay, so that's how that works, and that is what we do. And also, if you want your army featured in a battle report, there's no charge for that, obviously, and I do it if I can, and but I can't always do it. But hey, Nate. Okay, so folks, thanks for tuning in to this now. I do believe it is creeping up on an hour.
Is my thumb in frame?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't see the screen.
Spencer's thumb speaks. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. And thank you, Spencer, for being here. I think you really improved
always
the
glad
quality.
to add a little insight.
No, Spencer was over there like biting his lip, Sean.
Just sitting at my computer like,
I can add things to this conversation, and I'm glad you did.
I'm getting paid!
Wait a minute.